So you come to trade shows, NAB 2024. I just happened to have this rolling interview stand, and we just had a pretty cool off-the-cuff interview with Alister Chapman, which I'm going to release as soon as I can because it's a one camera and we covered a bunch of topics. So if you like this type of content, please let me know. The thing you get to do is you get to run into people. And I got lucky at San Diego Expo LA last year. I got to meet Alister Chapman, which I sort of like met on Facebook groups. And he's very supportive of the community. He's a UK Sony ambassador. What do you guys call it?
Right. Sony Europe ambassador. Yep. Also an independent certified expert is the other one. Yeah.
And what do you do for action? What's your day job?
My day job is, well, it's educating people, but I'm also a filmmaker. I film northern lights, volcanoes, hurricanes, tornadoes, a bit of drama, a bit of this, a bit of that, circus, all sorts of things.
And how long you been doing that for?
30-something years.
So you have a couple days in the rodeo.
Yeah, a few. Yeah, a few. I've seen a few things.
And what's brought you to NAB?
So I'm here. I was invited out by NANLITE to come and do some presentations for them on lighting, and it was really nice actually because we've had some amazing presentations by some really top cinematographers about how to shoot a movie, how to shoot a feature film, and everything else.
So you're on a panel of some colleagues that you're pretty impressed to be with.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, the best of the best. But they wanted me to come at it from the other end because over the years I've done a lot of very low budget drama, low budget productions, interviews, that really basic bread and butter stuff.
The bread and butter stuff.
And you don't have the big budgets. You don't have a gaffer and a whole truckload of
more like a one-man band type of thing.
Yeah. So I got the opportunity to talk about how you do it on your own, how you do it on a budget, how you do it working really small, compact light.
And how was the reception at the audience?
Yeah, it was really good. Yeah, no, it was really good. It's a good crowd here. Always is at NAB. Yeah, so it's fun to be here.
How long have you been using either NANLITE or NANLITE?
So I've been using NANLITE lights now, I think it's probably about 6 years. So I've been using them for a while. It's not new. Yeah.
Yeah, so I've been with them about 6 years too. And so you can see people from your perspective of not a big production, somebody that can get into NANLITE, and then as they work their way up, there's a huge growth potential sticking with NANLITE NANLITEs.
Yeah, I mean they've got a new range that's coming out now, the FC range. They're aimed at entry level. They're aiming to bring out a really good quality lamp, a very flexible lamp, but one that people can afford. So there's a few little things here and there that trim back, but basically it still does the job. It does what you need at a lower price point. And then once you understand the way their controls work, it's the same across all of their lights. So moving from one light to another, so going from the little FC60, which is like $100 lamp, all the way up to $10,000, 2400 or something like that. And it works the same, basically. So it's easy.
So such as Sony, because he also is a. Do we talk about that on camera? About what you do for Sony?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I believe you probably feel the same way about Sony. Is you can get yourself into like a ZV-1. What's the cheapest Sony like a ZV?
Oh, I don't know what the cheapest. I mean,
the point is
yeah.
you can get into a
FX30 perhaps.
Well, that's cinema.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you have like cheap Sony, whatever it say called ZV.
Yeah,
ZV-10.
Yeah.
Something that's maybe $800, all the way up to what?
Oh, all the way up to Venice, which is
Venice 2.
Venice 2, $70,000 with your licenses, media.
Yeah, and you're doing what kind of movies?
Oh, I mean, I've come off Beetlejuice, yeah, doing some bits and pieces for that this year.
So it seems like the type of companies you like to be part of are companies that you can start at the very bottom, but low experience, and you can work your way up. As you grow, you have two companies, NANLITE and Sony, that you can grow with and stay within the same family, same, I'm not gonna say architecture, but the same. Well,
what I like to be involved with is companies that are interested in helping to educate people. So Sony have been very good with that. All through everything I've done with Sony is what I've done with Sony is to teach, essentially, to help people. And that's how I got started in the whole thing. So many years ago, I had a website called tvcameraman.info. And that website existed because I was a frustrated cameraman who wanted to do things better than I was doing. And if you went and talked to a top cinematographer, they wouldn't talk to you.
No.
So I started the website to try and gather this information, to disseminate it and
For
spread it.
yourself.
For myself, really, and it grew from there. And then I became XD Cam user. Then I started working with Sony. But it's always been about sharing information, about helping people to understand difficult things, perhaps.
So you've been doing this for how many, like this type of stuff, like a long time, right?
Yeah, it's 15 years, something like that.
That's the thing that I mentioned to Allison when we were just talking off camera is I got to meet him, not meet him in person, but met you like on a Facebook group. I think I asked you a question or something and he graciously answered it. But also you get to see Alister at trade shows. And the cool thing is, this is the first time is this one of the first times you've been with NANLITE? And
Yeah, I did the BSC Expo in London, which is where I met them really.
oh, okay.
And this is the first big show I've done with them, and they're really passionate about education. So one of the directors of the company was a school teacher originally. So she wants to educate, she wants to teach, and that's why we've got all these presentations. The presentations aren't about the lights, they're about lighting and how to do it.
It's not about the gear.
Yeah. So, I mean, I've learned a lot in the last day or so listening to the other guys.
Yeah, you with some major peers, right? Yeah, you with people that are not, I'm gonna say above you, but people that actually that do feature movies that are on the big screen,
Yeah.
and you get to be with you on the same. So when I used to speak, you heard of Joe McNally, right? Joe McNally.
No.
So he's a world class photographer,
Right.
National Geographic, and I spoke and I was on the stage with Joe McNally.
Right.
So I have a feeling you might be in a situation where you're on stage with some people that you would consider like somebody like, for me, Joe McNally,
Right. Yeah.
an icon. Is there anything else you'd like to share that you want to talk about that you experienced at NAB?
It's really nice just to be here on the booth. People drop by and they say thank you for what I'm doing. And you know what, guys, when somebody does that, I appreciate that so much.
You don't think it for granted.
Because I write this stuff. A lot of it I do for free. It's just really reassuring that people are actually reading it, and you're not just writing a lot of nonsense that nobody's reading. So it's really nice when people come up and say thanks, and it's good to meet the people that I'm writing for.
And you're very approachable. You're not standoffish from when I like.
Yeah.
Now you're not standoffish. Is there anything else you want to say? What's your next thing that you'll be doing?
My next thing that I'm doing, so I'm filming a lot of circus coming up.
And what do you mean by that?
So I'm involved with the Glastonbury Music Festival in the UK. It's one of the largest music festivals anywhere in the world, but it's actually the festival of performing on contemporary arts.
Oh,
So they have a lot of very top circus acts from around the world.
so it's visually stunning.
Visually stunning. These are top athletes and top performers. I have immense respect for them because what they do is very often very dangerous, but they do it in a beautiful way.
And what are you doing for that?
So I'm filming that, and
You get to provide lighting, or you have to use the stage lighting?
it's all stage lighting.
Because it looks gorgeous already.
Yeah, but I did recently complete a project for Fujifilm with the GFX 100,
And why'd you do that for?
and we shot that.
And why'd you do that for?
It's a medium format camera, so it's a unique product in
Okay.
the market. There's nothing else
Oh yeah,
quite like
it's
it.
pretty phenomenal. It's 100, right?
100 megapixel camera, medium format.
Dual sensor thing, right? Dual focusing thing. I don't know much about
No,
Fuji.
so it's a medium format. So it's
I know that.
big sensor, lots of onboard different codec options, raw recording.
And the colors are gorgeous.
Colors are very nice. Yeah, it's really nice colors, and I had an opportunity to make a film with it.
Why not?
The act, it's called Earth Ritual. It's about 3 girls and their relationship with the planet and the soul.
Oh,
So
so deep.
it's very deep, and we actually filled the studio with earth. So we had to bring in 3 tons of soil for part of the set.
Wow.
It's an act I've seen before. These guys, circus doesn't get publicity. Yet these are stunningly amazing
It's
acts.
like Cirque du Soleil would be considered.
It's the pinnacle. Yeah.
Yeah. So these guys doing the same.
They're 90% of the way to Cirque du Soleil, but nobody ever gets to see it unless you go to a circus. And how many people go to the circus?
Not a lot these days.
Yeah.
Back when we were younger, we used to go to circus and they would have elephants and fun stuff.
Yeah, and that's not very politically correct now. Is animals in cages and clowns with big red noses.
But we got to experience when we were younger, so we got lucky. Is there any news that you heard at NAB that you thought might be interesting for people to understand? Like, for example, I saw a post you made about Blackmagic, explaining some, and I thought you did a really good job because I read it. Is there anything well, not negative about Blackmagic or anything? Is there anything you can explain what they're doing?
We
I
live
thought
in,
about that. I thought
yeah, we live in a very difficult. So much technology drives these cameras. If you go back 15, 20 years and you bought an HD camera, it would have had 3 sensors and 3 chips in it, red, green, and blue.
Yep.
And each one of those would be an HD sensor. So you had full red, green, and blue HD resolution. Now, one of the things that happened, we went to single chip cameras, which have, let's say, 4K of
It's
pixels.
hard.
Let's say 4K of pixels. Let's start down there. And everyone talks about 4K resolution. Pixels are not the same thing as resolution. So 4K of pixels does not necessarily mean 4K resolution. It simply means 4K pixels. And then, of course, we have Blackmagic, who brought out their cameras to 12K, and which is
Big news.
Big news. I have to say, I haven't actually played with them or tried them. And I just get a little frustrated that they use the term resolution, 17K resolution, 12K resolution, because almost you can guarantee that it won't be 12K or 17K resolution.
The actual final.
It'll be somewhat less than that. Now, I don't know how much less, but it will definitely be less.
So it's more like, I'm not gonna say grammar, but more terminology.
It is terminology, and maybe some people might think I'm being super picky and super critical, but the thing is, there are correct terms and correct ways of describing things, and it wouldn't hurt them to just say it's a 17 megapixel camera or a 12 megapixel. 12.
So it's like not a graph. So it's
It's a little bit of honesty.
oh.
It's a 12K pixel camera, a 17K pixel camera. Now, I don't know. I haven't tested these cameras. They might produce a gorgeous image.
Yeah.
This is not a
But it's the
criticism.
grammatic. What's the word?
The grammar.
Not the grammar, but it's,
Yeah,
you're there.
yeah, I can't think.
But basically, if you say I throw 120 mile speed fastball, you're not really throwing it. You might, maybe when it leaves your hand, it's maybe 120, but by the time it gets to the base, I'm trying to do an
Yeah,
analogy.
but it's not even that, because
I know,
it's probably never ever 120.
No, I'm trying to get as like, because this was when I saw it, I was actually here tired.
Yeah.
So I think that's why I think it'd be sort of neat just to clarify what you meant.
Yeah, I think it's about, if people are going to understand what these cameras do, it's going to be more helpful if manufacturers and everybody speaks from the same script,
yeah.
same language.
So we know what 12K means, 4K, 8K.
And absolutely, it's a 12K pixel
Have a
camera.
standardized, like almost like Ed, what's his name? The guy that did the EL zones. I know his name is Ed.
And lack of,
So he thought, let's standardize the false color, and he came up with the EL. He came up with the EL zone system.
Yeah.
Same concept. Let's just standardize it, so we all, every camera, every monitor can use the same thing instead of having RE false color and all these other false colors. So I think you're trying to say, you are successfully saying, let's just have a standardized. What is 4K, 8K, 12K?
well, it's the difference. It's what's the difference between pixels and resolution.
Yes.
They're two different things. They mean two different things, so they shouldn't be interchanged.
Yeah, it's almost like IP rating of 5.5. I learned that 5 means one thing, and another 5 means another.
Yeah.
So I just learned relatively today or whatever. So I never knew what IP 5.5 meant, but IP 5.5 means 5 elements and then 5 something else. Same thing you just said about what you just said.
It's almost actually like saying the difference between gasoline and diesel. They're both fuel.
They
We
both
know that.
pushes cars.
Yeah, but you don't want to put your gasoline in the diesel and the diesel in the gasoline, because that's not going to work.
Because I think people do need analogies.
Yeah.
And you do a great job of trying to explain, not to say simplistically, but you try to make more people understand what you're trying to say.
Yeah, and that's all it is. I mean, I have a gripe with Blackmagic for using it as resolution, but to be honest, all the camera manufacturers are guilty of it. Sony, your FX6, they sell it as a 4K camera. Well, it's a 4K pixel camera. Is it 4K resolution? It's probably just a little bit below that. So, yeah, maybe Sony. Maybe I'm going to let Sony off the hook, because they call it a 4K camera, but they don't specify that it's 4K resolution.
They don't say those 2 words.
Yeah, and it's a fine line that you tread. And it's clarity.
You don't want to do false advertising or false, like when somebody if you say this is the best hamburger in the world, it's not going to be a McDonald's hamburger, but McDonald's will say this is the best hamburger, but we both know you can go to many great hamburger places. So just say it's a good affordable hamburger. Same thing with camera company should
Yeah.
do too.
It's just that word resolution has a very defined meaning.
There's a real meaning to that.
Yeah, and it's not the number of pixels. So yeah, it's a very minor thing in the grand scheme of things. It's not worth losing any sleep over.
Which you're not, but
Yeah, but it would just be helpful for everybody if the right term was used, because then everybody would understand what people are talking about.
but it is exciting times, right? This has actually been a pretty cool, like Blackmagic got a bunch of buzz. NANLITE's doing a great job, and Ari's doing. There's a lot of buzz at this one. I don't remember if last year had this much buzz, but there's a lot of buzz at this one.
Yeah, I mean,
Have you noticed that too?
yeah, I mean, one of the things, I'm going to plug Sony here. I do so much stuff
Why-
with Sony. Is that they've
What?
got a new monitor that they're showing, which is a 4,000 nit HDR.
Oh yeah, I heard about that.
And it was really interesting because one of the things that I had assumed, you make a lot of assumptions, and this was an incorrect assumption, was that a 4,000 nit monitor would be more uncomfortable to watch than a 1,000 nit monitor because it's so much brighter.
You like having a light be too bright in your face.
But one of the shots they got is a sunset. Now on the 1,000 nit monitor, you can't see the sun. The sun is kind of all fuzzed out because it's clipped, the monitor can't show it, and then the sky is really bright. It doesn't look wrong, it doesn't look not right. It's the kind of thing what we're used to seeing. And the sky is dazzling. On the 4,000 nit monitor, you can see the sphere of the sun against the bright sky.
Which is huge, right?
But it's only the sphere of the sun that's bright. The rest of the sky isn't as bright. So it's not actually as dazzling to watch.
Oh,
That surprised me. The monitor is incredible. It's opened up a whole can of worms with how we do our color grading.
so is this similar to when TVs used to be, let's say, HD, and then we went to like 4K, and people that didn't have to wear so much makeup? Now you can see all the pores. Is that similar to that monitor?
There are similarities to that. It will. So what it's created now are grading issues. So they graded some material for the 4,000 nit monitor. It looks stunning, and there are vapor trails from an aircraft in the sky. It's a very bright sky, and they're reflecting the light back really brightly. And in the 4,000 nit monitor, the sky just looks incredible. Then you show it on the 1,000 nit monitor, which is still an extremely good monitor. And because white, so that white in the blue sky is made up of red, green, and blue, and there's a little bit more green than red and blue in that particular part of the image to get that. When you then clip that at 1,000 nits, what you end up with is a clipped green and the red and blue.
Oh,
So instead of being a white vapor trail, it becomes a pink vapor trail
in the 1,000,
in the 1,000 nit
but
monitor.
in the 4,000,
It looks gorgeous.
so we have to catch up to that.
Yeah, and the dilemma then is, who do we grade for?
Your audience,
Yeah, and most of the audience aren't going to have 4,000 nit monitors.
so we have to catch up.
Yeah, so it's like, well, almost it's like, well, why do we need a 4,000 nit monitor? But
Because we can.
well, it's future proofing. In 4 or 5 years' time, there will be 4,000 nit TVs and everything else.
There's nothing wrong with being first.
Yeah, and all the stuff that we've been doing to date in HDR has been done to 1,000 nits, and it won't look good. So we've got to go back and grade
Well,
it.
it's the same as we watch old TV shows. They have to up-res them, so maybe they could probably do that maybe with the 1,000 nits. Is there anything else that's exciting for you at the show? Since we're on a roll,
I haven't had a great deal of chance to walk around all of the shows.
but you're having a phenomenal time at the NANLITE booth.
Yeah.
You're with your peers.
Yeah.
You're actually learning stuff too, and you're excited for some new items in the Sony booth. And I also saw it even when I was standing here before we started interviewing. People were like thanking you, and like you mentioned earlier, it's if you see somebody you like and you see them in person, and
I don't know if people are reading my stuff or not, and if they are reading it, I don't know whether they enjoy it or not.
so it's good for you to get some. No, people that are creatives, all we need is a little feedback.
Yeah.
If you say, "Hey, Allison, you're doing a great job," like, "Oh, okay, let me put in my 6 hours of doing this free content," and at least I know people will appreciate it.
yeah, and the negative stuff is valuable too, because if someone says, that article you wrote, I didn't quite understand it, then I can adjust.
And so that's sort of what I'm doing now, right? Like this wasn't the intention, but I do sort of like, oh yeah, you made a really cool comment about the Blackmagic, and now with us on the video, I think you clarified it a little better. Do you think?
Yeah. So it helps me to understand what people, whether they understand what I write, whether I'm going too technical for people,
Or if you're being negative, Nelly.
whether I need to dial it back a
Yeah,
bit.
but it wasn't a negative comment. You just wanted clarification that there are two, you know,
Yeah, and it kind of, it's very easy for some, and it did happen a little bit with the Blackmagic comment that people are going, oh, he's being negative about the
Because he's-
camera. And no, I'm not being negative about the camera. I just want to make sure people understand what the numbers mean.
yeah, that's you're just trying to be helpful.
Yeah, I'm trying to be.
You are being helpful. So I just wanted to say thank you to Alister. He's very busy at the show. He's really, we talked to the camera. He's really enjoying his time on stage. He hasn't really walked around the trade show yet, but when are you going back home?
I fly home on Wednesday.
So he only has. Oh, yeah, today's Monday.
Today is Tuesday. Today's Monday.
Oh.
Yeah, Monday. I can't even
I
remember.
was trying to get that. I just want to thank Alister for spending the time with us. Actually, it was a very enjoyable, and he's helped me out at a show in LA when I asked some questions about color. So actually, that video actually did pretty well. And I'm not sure if you even saw it, but it actually did pretty well. He's talking about Cine tone.
Yep. Yeah, that's right. And I'll be back for Cine Gear, so I'll be back in the US for Cine Gear. So come
With
see me.
Sony or with
Back with Bright Tangerine again.
bright, not orange tangerine, bright tangerine.
And I'll also be doing some presentations probably for NANLITE while I'm here. So.
Now, side note, don't you really think having professional people talking about lighting that actually do it for a living is pretty beneficial if you come to an in-person trade show?
Oh, it's fascinating. It's just stories they tell, and what you realize actually listening to to Shane or to Rodney. I mean, these guys are the top of the tree. They're the best of the best, and they still are making it up as they go along. And it's like, how the hell do I do this? And they, so Shane makes his own stuff out of stuff from a hardware store, and these guys, even at the top, are still experimenting. They're still learning.
So it gives you inspiration.
It is, and it's invigorating, and it makes you want to get up in the morning.
Because sometimes you do these types of events and you're the speaker and you never see the speaker again, but you actually enjoying their presentations too.
Yeah, oh yeah, absolutely. You never stop learning. If you stop learning, you're in the wrong business.
Yeah, I know they're right here.
Let's go ahead and thank you, Alice.
You're welcome. No
See you next time.
Yes, you're right.
Beer tomorrow? Yeah.